Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Road Runners Unfiltered. It's your host, Darian Starlin. Thank you guys for being here. We got a huge Friday game between UTSA versus number 18, Tulane. Both schools are undefeated in conference play right now. Tulane is sitting at 10-1 overall for the season. UTSA sitting at 8-3. A huge game. I think us on this channel, we've been talking about this game for weeks now, to be honest. As UTSA started conference play, we've been talking about, that Tulane game at the end of the season is going to be huge. It has essentially turned into playoff football, right? This is a win-or-go-home type situation. Obviously, there's a bowl game, and that's a whole thing. But in terms of hanging a banner, in terms of putting a stamp on UTSA's first campaign in the new conference AAC, they have a huge opportunity here. There's a huge opportunity for the runners to go in and win Tulane. It is a very winnable game. And then, probably play SMU next week for the conference championship. So, yeah, we are in a win-or-go-home situation. What I'm going to do here is go through what I think are going to be the keys to victory for UTSA in this one. And I'm also going to highlight a couple things we just got to worry about because Tulane does pose some threats. There's a ton to cover. If you guys are new here, make sure you guys subscribe to the channel and like the video. And for all of my folks who've been here, been with me this entire season, make sure you smash a like on that button too. And welcome back. I appreciate having you guys here. Now, without further ado, let's jump into that. I'm gonna start with what Tulane. I like to do this. Like for us as UTSA supporters, I like to always present what Tulane is bringing, or what the opponent, and in this case it's Tulane, what they are bringing to the table. This particular game, what we have to worry about, what have they done well all season. And kind of put that on the platter for you just from my perspective. But Tulane is one thing, and I think is a skill that people will look at a schedule and say, well, these guys are winning close games, and they'll kind of present that as a sign of weakness, right? And I've said for weeks on this thing, teams that win, to me, whenever you see teams that are winning close games like this, it just shows you that they know how to win. Right now, are there teams that they should have had more success? If you look at teams on paper, you look at some of the teams that they've played recently, and you would expect, especially them being ranked 18th, them being on this long winning streak, you would expect them to beat East Carolina by more than 3 points. You would expect them to beat Tulsa by more than 2 points. You would expect them to beat Rice by more than 2 points, right? You would expect those sort of things, but every team doesn't, even no matter how good they are, every team, doesn't play to their tip-top best at all, right? Now, and it's one thing I've been talking about UTSA as well. As good as this conference run has been for us, we didn't play our best football till last week, last Friday in the Alamo Dome, right? So it's taken UTSA a while to get to where we're playing dominating football. And I think it was the perfect timing because now Tulane has to deal with UTSA coming off of that game last week where Frank Harris was setting records and contributing to 6 total touchdowns, which is absurd. So it's going to be tough. But anyway, as I was saying on Tulane, them winning close games to me means that they are doing the right things at the end of the games. They are not making pivotal mistakes in big points, and they're also doing enough in the clutch to bring these games home. So that's one thing that I look at is actually a positive for them. Instead, like I said, I've heard a lot of people talk about, they have not looked great against some of the teams that you would expect them to beat. And I'm not necessarily saying that's wrong. I'm saying that them winning this many close games starts to kind of tell me something about how they manage games at the end of in crunch time, right? So that's something that we, you know, I'd be concerned or I'd be just worried about that if the game was close as we got to the fourth quarter and it's a rock'em sock'em. Like, not that they have an advantage or anything like that, because each game is its own, but it's just something to worry about. Something that I've noted when just going back and watching them. Also, another thing that I think that they do really well is their quarterback Michael Pratt is really good. He's really good. His numbers are not. He doesn't have gaudy numbers. They've dealt with a lot of injuries this season, but that dude is really good. He's the most efficient based on stats, the most efficient quarterback in the conference. He doesn't put up a ton of yards, but he has a 19-4 touchdown to interception ratio, which I think is something to note. It means he takes care of the ball. It also means it's also something that kind of shows you that he's not making big mistakes at the end of these games. He's not putting the team in jeopardy at the end of these games. Whenever they're in crunch time. So he has a pretty high completion percentage as well. He has the second highest completion percentage in the conference behind Jacob Zenu at UAB. Which he's completing 68, almost 69% of his passes. So we just we can't let him beat us. He can also beat us with his legs if we're not careful. I think it's going to be important for our front seven to get pressure on him. Our front four, honestly, I think what we can't do is give him time in the pocket to just scan the field and find receivers, because he will do that. He will do that. So, um, you know, getting pressure on him is key. I think Trey Moore, once again, if he can continue to keep pulling rabbits out of his hat and just exploding on the tackles that are trying to block him, right? If he can continue to dominate, then I think we'll be fine. Forcing him to get happy feet in the pocket is what we want. So yeah, I think that they do have some talented receivers. I know some of them are injured. I think they're getting some back, so we just have to be wary of that as well. But I'm not as concerned about the. I'm not as concerned about, and let me knock on wood because I hope I'm not jinxing us here, but I'm not super concerned about them stretching the field on us as much because they want to run the football. Their running back. This is another thing to highlight as well. They have the number one rusher, I believe, in the conference. I think his name is Mekhi Hugh. He's almost at 1,100 yards on the ground. They rely on him a lot. He has the highest average per game, obviously. And they lean on him a lot, man. They lean on him a lot. Like, he has by far the most rushing attempts in the conference, and he's a good back. He's a good back. He scored 6 touchdowns for them on the year. He's had some big plays that he's broken off of also, but they like to lean on him. And I think that's also. I think it also keeps points off the board for them too, because their offense is a little bit more slow paced at times because they like to run the ball a lot. So, that's something we just have to be worried about. And then also they're bringing in a good defense. Let's make no mistake about that. They have a formidable defense. If you go and look at the stats in terms of scoring defense, them and SMU are very 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 good. They allow the least amount of points per game. They're averaging 18 and a half. Points allowed. SMU's averaging 18, so that's really really good. Versus us, we're allowing 24, just over 24 points a game. So they have a good defense. Their defense have held up all season. It's going to be a difficult code to crack, but if there's an offense that can do it, and if there's a quarterback that can do it, it'll be Frank Harris, absolutely. But and they're good. In terms of rushing defense, they are extremely good. They are extremely good. Listen to this, folks. Tulane's rushing defense, they've given up less than 1,000 yards rushing this entire season. They're giving up 2.8 yards a carry, only 77 yards per game. You know who's next? It's SMU. Next, listen to this, is 100 and they're giving up 112 yards a game rushing. SMU. That's second. That's the second lowest allowed. So like if you look at that points differential, I, my quick math is terrible, right? But if you look at that points differential there, you're looking at, let's see, 12, you know, almost like 35-yard difference there, or somewhere around maybe a 35-yard difference there. They are not letting teams run the ball on them very much. They are not, and teams just stop doing it. That's what eventually happens, because if you just look at it, they also has the least amount of rush attempts against them. And I think it's one of those things where if you're not doing anything and you're not, if you're not able to have success, then you're going to switch things up and do things different, right? And that's what they're doing, right? And they don't allow many rushing touchdowns either. So that's something that we have to be worried about. Now, when you look at their passing defense, they give up the fifth most passing yards in the conference, right? So that's what's going to be important for UTSA. We're going to have to pass the ball against this team. That would make the most logical sense, but running the ball, obviously we should try it, and there's an element of that we need so we can open up the pass game more. Because to me, our run game sets the tone for our pass game in a lot of ways. If Frank Harris is running well, or if one of our three running backs are running well, we generally start to get rolling in the pass game as we grow into the game, right? So, I don't know. Their defense is going to put us to the test, and they're going to ask us a lot of questions about that performance that our offense had last week. Are we going to be able to kick the door down on that defense and really come to play? To me, it comes down to this. UTSA, high-powered offense, Tulane, high-powered defense. They're going to clash me in the middle. And what are the others? They're going to clash me in the middle, and I'm sure that they're going to give up a little bit. Their defense is going to give some a little bit, and they're going to take some a little bit. That's the thing that's going to happen. But how are those other sides of the ball going to play each other, right? How is the UTSA's defense going to hold up against Tulane's offense? It's going to be a huge thing to watch. It's going to be fun to watch because both teams are good. Both teams have a lot of talent, and I'm really, really excited about it. I really wish I wasn't hosting Thanksgiving this year, because if I wasn't, I would have been able to do this live with you guys. But due to some scheduling stuff, I'm not going to ask you guys to get up as early as I am right now to do this. But yeah, there's so much to be excited about in this particular game. So I'm really happy about that. Listen, I think the keys to the victory for UTSA is simple. I think offensively, we need to get off to a fast start. This team's offense does not start. They don't put up a ton of points. I think that much is pretty clear. And if you look at the scoring numbers, we're averaging 33 points per game. They're averaging 27.8. But even to me, that 27.8 is a little bit inflated in my opinion, because their last three games, they're 24, 24, and 13. They just haven't been putting up a lot of points lately, in my opinion. I think they were scoring in the 36s and 37s early in the season, but they haven't really put forth a lot of those performances here later in the season. But we can, UTSA, we can score 40. We can score 40-some points with the best of them. We've done it how many times this year? 1, 2, 3, 4. We've topped 44 times this year, and we've done that. 4 times in conference play. And 37, 34, 36, 41, 49, this is what we've done in conference play. That's what UTSA have put on the board, conference play. If our offense and our team, because some of those touchdowns and some of the points has come from defense as well throughout some of this, if If our team can put up 35 plus points, I think we win the game. I think that guarantees us a win because I don't think Tulane's going to score that. Um, and to me, that means we need to put Tulane in a position to where they're being forced to throw the ball. They're not trying to control clock. They're not trying to you know lean on that running back as much. Let's force them into let's force them to do things they don't want to do. They don't have the all of their top receivers available, right? Well, let's force them. Let's force those other guys who are coming in to supplement the absences of those guys. Let's make those guys beat us. Let's test them. Let's figure it out. Um, so I think scoring early, getting up early, taking advantage of opportunities that present themselves. We have to be efficient. We cannot turn the ball over. That is going to be a huge thing against this team. We are going to have to cherish every possession that we get, and every opportunity that we get to put up points against that defense. And we're just going to have to be smart, and we're going to have to be really, really good about doing that. So, um, yeah, getting um, ahead early and getting points on the board early, and really trying to capitalize on the defense trying to figure out what we're giving them offensively before they grow into and settle into the game, right? So I love to win this game in the first half and just having to defend Tulane from trying to play keep up. That would be excellent. That would be excellent. So that's the kind of game I want to see from UTSA in terms of the first. I think key is just get up early. The second thing for me is pressure on the quarterback. We absolutely must pressure this quarterback and force him to make some difficult decisions and difficult throws. Our corners and our secondary are just going to hold up on the back, or going to have to hold up on the back end. We have good folks in those positions. We have to rely on them. It's going to be huge for them to get back there. And also, I think our front four just needs to dominate their front four as well. If I think we do have the front four to get it. I don't think there's a player on that field better than Trey Moore. And I think that if he can wreak some havoc and allow us to drive back into coverage some and just get pressure forward, that would be huge, huge. But either way, I think we need to heat that quarterback up and challenge that efficiency a little bit. Make him take some risk. We played one of the efficient quarterbacks earlier this year, and guess what? We picked him off twice, didn't we? So, it's not – Tulane is not bringing anything to the table that we haven't seen. Well, to be fair, they're bringing a defense that we have not seen yet this season. Maybe if you go into to some of the non-conference stuff, maybe. But I don't think we've seen a defense this good and this banded together this season. We definitely haven't seen it in the conference. So that's the one thing we haven't seen. But with an offense like ours, with an experienced quarterback like ours, with Joshua Cephas on the outside, I think statistically he's the number two receiver in the conference right now. We have the weapons to do it. Devin McEwen has been excellent. We have our running back core, of course. We have talent all over the field. And our offensive talent has really come into their own. And I think last week against South Florida was a huge confidence boost for that group coming into these next opportunities, right? So, getting pressure on that quarterback and making sure that he is uncomfortable. Listen, if he's beating us while being uncomfortable and under a whole bunch of pressure and he's carving us up that way, listen, be my guest. But I just have a sneaky suspicion that if we are forcing him to make decisions quicker and faster than he would like to, I think we can be in a really good position to come out with a dub. And then secondly, adjustments. I think UTSA, we have been able to all season, in my opinion, to come out and make adjustments defensively in the second half and shut teams down even more than we shut them down in the first half. That's going to be extremely pivotal in this game. We've done it, in my opinion, almost every single game of the season. where our second half defensively, our second half performance has been lights out compared to our first half performance. I think they're going to force us because they're well coached. They have good scheme. They have good players. They're going to force us to make adjustments. I don't think we've always adjusted well offensively. I think our offense is going to have to make some adjustments in that second half and do something that we haven't done great all year in terms of making those second half adjustments and coming out and adjusting to what that defense is asking us to do. That their defense is going to challenge our offense to make some moves, to make some adjustments. The things are not going to be easy to us. They're not going to give us anything, right? So I think it's going to be important, obviously, for the defense to continue that just string of having really good performances in the second half. But offensively, we're going to have to meet the defense with that also and make adjustments that are necessary to carry UTSA to a victory. I think, we got to put together two good halves of football. We have to use the knowledge we gain in the first half from what we've seen, what the opposing team has given us, to better help us and better prepare us for the second half and give us an opportunity to capitalize on what we're seeing, right? So that's going to be the third key for me. I think I'm obviously rolling into my prediction here. I think UTSA is going to win, and I would not be surprised if this game is not as close as I wouldn't be surprised if we won this game handily, if I'm being just completely honest. This is no knock to Tulane, but I've said it for a while, and I said it all season. And those of you, I probably sound like a broken record to those of you who've been with me all season. Once we really get momentum, and we really start to put together two halves of football, two halves of good football. We haven't done that a lot. We haven't done that consistently this year, but we have started to do that toward the end of the season. We have started to build off each performance. What did I say coming out of the East Carolina game? I said UTSA's competition is going to rise pretty much all the way up until we play Tulane. That's what I said. Think about it. North Texas, that was not an easy game. I don't care what their record is. North Texas can put up points, and they have some talent on defense. We needed to play. That game was an 8-point game, regardless of what things look like. That game was an 8-point game. They were a real test for us, and that's after us. Us not playing just great football. We didn't play just great football against East Carolina. I think the first half against East Carolina wasn't great. That I think we gave up 20 points in that first half against that team, a team that we should have been running over in my opinion. So North Texas was a test that we passed. Rice was an even bigger test in my opinion, even without their starting quarterback. They still were a good, formidable football team, and they've played some good football. And I think they challenged us. Their defense challenged us in ways we hadn't been challenged this season, but we passed that test. South Florida, you can say whatever you want, but that team's not bad either. They put up 50 points against Memphis, didn't they? And that game is something that I say, hey, you know what? Our defense is going to get tested because that team can put up a lot of points, and offensively, we're going to have to outscore that offense, right? We're going to have to outscore that offense. They just ran into us on the wrong night, but it was also perfect because, our defense did a good job in that game, and then our offense, 49 points, 6 touchdowns from Frank Harris. So, this momentum that UTSA is starting to, with these, in my opinion, just steps up in competition. Us having to answer different questions every week. They have to answer another one on Friday. But do I think we have the momentum? Absolutely. Do I think that this team, as good as that defense is, do I think that they're going to hold us to this 18 points? Or 18 and a half points? No, they won't. They won't. We can score 18 points against anybody with that quarterback that we have right now. So I am very, very confident based on the way we're entering this game, the way Tulane has I'm not saying they look bad, but they have not scored a ton of points all throughout the season. And I think that's just going to be problematic for them, quite frankly. I think that we have too much talent on offense to to you know I think we have too much talent on offense for anyone in this conference to put a muzzle on them. That's what I think. That's what I think. So, in terms of my score prediction, I'm going to go UTSA 37, Tulane 24. I think we beat them. Yeah, yeah. I think we beat them by more than a touchdown here. So I'm gonna go. Yeah, UTSA 37, Tulane 24. That's my score prediction. UTSA will on December 2nd play SMU for the conference championship in the AAC, and I cannot wait. I cannot wait. So thank you guys for being here. Thank you guys for being here this entire regular season. It means the most to me that you guys have been here all season. I really appreciate all the subscriptions. Think about it, guys. I just want to say this as I round this off. We started this when I started this channel and I started UTSA or Road Runners Unfiltered. I was at 238 subscribers. I am now at around 650, moving towards 700. On a larger scale, that's not a ton, but that's just a lot of you guys being great and trying helping me build a community. So I really appreciate that. But I'll see you guys next week. UTSA will win, and we will be doing a preview and a breakdown and all of that stuff next week. So enjoy the holidays. Thank you guys for being with me. I'll see you guys. Peace.